lot of people are trying to guess where Tesla's next factory is going to be built. We hear India, UK, Japan, or even Russia has been mentioned. We all want to know. It's a big deal. Why is it such a big deal? Well, it shows more confidence in Tesla's growth if they're willing to add another gigafactory in a new location. It gives an indication of whether Tesla can continue expanding at this current rate. However, Elon has said that it doesn't look like there will be a new factory at a new location mentioned for some time. Possibly not even until about as far as 2024 or so. Well, that's quite a while. And to maintain 50% growth, even if this new factory is up and running in 2025, it'll be tough to get such growth out of the current factories. Now, can anyone recall the next factory Tesla built once the construction of the Shanghai Model 3 factory was complete? It was the Shanghai Model Y factory, of course. Tesla immediately built another factory next to the previous factory they just built. They expanded on the existing site. I've touched on this in the past, that as soon as Tesla complete their existing factories, they will keep going. I mean, they have all the construction crew there available, who know the site already. Why stop? Aside from supply chain issues with the likes of chips, what is the bottleneck in manufacturing more cars? It's just going to be raw materials, because Tesla is so vertically integrated, a lot of their product starts at the level of raw minerals. We assume that Tesla have secured these materials, as it would have seemed like an obvious move. The other bottleneck was the amount of batteries being produced, but if Tesla can simply create more battery lines within each factory, then this is solved too. And we're potentially witnessing how fast Tesla are able to get up and running a 4680 production line, as we're seeing in Giga, Texas right now. Supposedly these production lines are made in Canada by Highbar Systems. It sounds as if Tesla construct their own production lines for the 4680s. Of course, these production lines are so important, it would likely be best to have Tesla engineers producing them. Of course, the other issue is actual demand. It's one thing making all these cars, but it may be another thing selling them, and this obviously does not appear to be an issue for Tesla either. Therefore, what is stopping Tesla immediately expanding these factories once the first phases are complete? That question's not rhetorical. I would be interested in hearing any legitimate reasons. I can't see any. I think Tesla should, and most likely will, just keep expanding these existing sites. And Tesla haven't stopped in Shanghai yet either. We're seeing phase 3 being built currently. And what we've also heard Elon tweet lately about spending over $10 billion on the Texas site, considerably more than what has been spent to date. And similar is true for Berlin. We've all seen the plans of Berlin to expand to about 4 times the size of their current plant. Berlin is the hub to serve Europe. When you include the whole of Europe, not just the EU, like the UK, then the car market is again about the size of China and the US, similar in numbers and revenue. A lot of people like to speculate that Berlin will hit 2 million vehicles a year. It is estimated that the current plant is going to be around 500,000 to 700,000 Model Ys a year. A lot of these estimates are based on Tesla claiming that Berlin will produce a car body every 45 seconds, which is pretty much exactly 700,000 vehicles a year. Elon confirms this number on Twitter as well, and says at 75% uptime, this works out at 10,000 units a week, if run at 24/7 hours, 7 days a week. I think 75% uptime seems quite low, at least within time. I would expect to eventually reach a higher average uptime. But either way, we have a rough idea of capacity for this factory, and if we multiply that by 4, we get to 2 to 3 million vehicles a year, which is probably still not enough for all of Europe. It would only be about 10 to 15% of all cars sold in Europe. However, I'm willing to bet that at least one of these buildings will contain a production line for the compact Tesla. My thoughts are that this car is heavily designed around mass production. It is obviously a lot smaller than the Model Y too. I'm not entirely sure if it will even have paint either. Paint shops slow down production. It may be stainless steel or similar to the Cybertruck. It needs to be suitable for robotaxis for decades, so Tesla would not want it to rust. Stainless steel would avoid this. We calculated an estimated 500 to 700,000 units a year capacity if a factory was just the Model Y, using today's manufacturing processes. It may very well be different for the compact Tesla. They might be able to produce twice as many compacts per squared foot as they do for the Model Y. Of course, we also know that the compact cars are the best selling in Europe. Sure, there's the cliche of lots of narrow roads and difficult parking spots in Europe, and there is some truth to that. But on the other hand, compact cars, well, because they're small, they cost less to run and need smaller engines. And in Europe, gasoline is expensive, which is why you will not see many V8s there. The entire continent has been deprived of high-performance cars, as they simply cost too much to run, except for those that can afford them. However, in steps Tesla with a low-cost, high-performance car that costs nothing close to run compared to gasoline. So there'll be consumers in Europe who will go from compact ICE vehicles to Tesla Model 3s and Ys due to the lower running cost, yet there will also be consumers that do want a small car in size for the sheer ease of driving something smaller too, which means the Tesla Compact. I would say that Tesla plan on selling a lot of compacts in Europe, but I'm thinking this will not be until close to 2024, until Tesla have seriously ramped up their in-house LFP batteries, unless they start with an earlier version with CATL. But we'd still need to see them build a massive fab in China first to cater for the compact manufacturing if that was the case. I don't think there are enough clues around yet as to whether we can speculate on when this will occur. The clues we have are Elon saying that they will not have a steering wheel or pedals, implying that we need level 5 autonomy achieved first, and then Tesla making their own in-house LFP batteries, and whether they'll be required for the compact, which means some significant ramping up would be required first. Of course, Tesla may offer a steering wheel and pedals as an optional extra maybe. It might take Tesla 3 more years to complete the Berlin site as we've seen planned. Tesla have been building Shanghai for 3 years now, and are still going. So perhaps Berlin might build a Model 3 facility next. I wouldn't have thought it'd be likely we saw an SX or Cybertruck line there. However, possibly a semi-truck line. These are big vehicles to have to ship, and the demand will be backed up for years. By about the start of 2023, Tesla may start building the factory for the compact Tesla, and it'd be complete in early 2024, which would all time in with LFP battery production ramped up and hopefully FSD. Then there's Texas, with the estimated cost of building being $1.06 billion, but likely not including the machinery. But going by Tesla's financials, they've spent around $7 billion since the third quarter of 2020, which is when construction in Texas commenced. However, Tesla were also completing the Model Y Shanghai facility, building Berlin, and a lot of other capital expenses, like the Megafactory factory in California. So perhaps all up, including everything, Giga Austin was under $3 billion. And if Elon claims they'll spend over $10 billion on that site, then there will still be some massive expansion to come. Again, highly possible to see a compact Tesla factory in Texas too. And how many times have we heard Elon say, a factory on every continent, perhaps multiple factories consolidated in a single location for each continent? This is what we were told, and it appears this is what is happening. We've seen plans for Berlin's expansion, we've heard a significantly higher budget for Texas, and we've witnessed continual expansion for Shanghai. And we've been told to not expect any new locations anytime soon. Yet at the same time, we have been given growth targets. Tesla were rumoured to buy a massive amount of land in Shanghai, but later this was put on hold due to trade tensions with US and China. Tesla do have plans to expand the Shanghai site, but want to make sure everything is economically sound. The technology appears to have been achieved, at least for the 4680 batteries. So now all the production lines for all the 4680 battery-powered vehicles are being built. Once the LFP production is perfected, then Tesla can start building the factories for the LFP vehicles, or namely the compact Tesla. I think a lot of this will be revealed when Elon tells us the updated roadmap for Tesla on the earnings call later in January. This is a big deal. The way I infer it is Tesla are announcing plenty of more factories, except they just aren't in a new location. Does it matter that they're not in a new location? If Elon suddenly said, we're building a new factory in the UK, then that would have likely bumped the stock price, because we're seeing confidence in expansion and growth. However, the fact that we can interpret what is actually being said as Tesla announcing new factories just next to the existing ones doesn't seem to have the same effect on the stock price in the slightest. But what's the difference? These factories are hubs for the continents. These sites have only gotten started. Imagine if they eventually link up through boring tunnels to other various Tesla hubs. There is still so much future for this company. As I say, it's barely begun. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.